Right, Baz? Goodison Park. I think this will probably be the final time we'll ever be in here where it's empty.
Yeah.
I imagine. We are sitting in the corner of the family enclosure and the park end. Have you ever sat here before?
I have, when I worked there, a couple of cup games. The entrance just behind me. From out and without tickets. In fact, to be honest, I sat right next to the dugout when we played Preston. And I listened to a very young David Moyes with a hat on, screaming and coaching the whole game. And we won the game, but I remember saying to me, mate, that's who I want as that manager.
That's funny because you've just hit me on the head with a reminder there. I once sat in the dugout whilst the Premier League match going on. We beat Bolton 3-0. I think Joe got a couple.
Brazilian Joe.
Yeah, Brazilian Joe. I was sitting right behind the players, I was sitting with Rossi, funny enough. David Moyes was the manager, of course. I'd won some weird competition. I was told before the game, I won't say you said it, but I was told that anything I heard, should get repeated. And I wasn't allowed to take any pictures, which was a bit weird. It was the era of when smartphones had just come in and stuff, so plenty of pictures were taken, as that would just be a ludicrous thing to say to someone. Imagine saying to someone who's just won a competition all the things you weren't allowed to do. I imagine if it was anyone else, they would have been treated completely different. At the end, I was treated a bit like Charlie Biffett is in Willy Wonka, where it's just like, get out. And then I was waiting for them to say the club's all yours, but they never did. Never did.
Pity.
No pity. But we sat here a few times, haven't we, when we played at Goodison and come down and you're breathing out your backside or whatever, and you come and sit in these spaces and stuff like that. But I remember the first time I went in this, it was called the Prather Village, wasn't it? I remember coming, and it was the game.
No, this was the enclosure.
Sorry, the enclosure, Paratula. It was when it was the final game of the season when we beat Birmingham in 85-86. Was it Birmingham we beat? We played 6-1.
Southampton, Sutton,
Lineker got so whatever. Yeah,
that one. Yeah,
and it was the first time I'd ever been anywhere with the Gladys because when my dad was at a wedding, we'd all the rest of me or whatever. He'd gone to my dad's brother's wedding, there's an extra week. And I was allowed to come with a lad who lived around the corner from me. He used to sometimes bring me up and take me to the shop and stuff. And he allowed me to come, and this is the first time I experienced.
We could have won the league if they lost to Chelsea, but they scored there. Dalby scored early on. They won the league, didn't they? But yeah, it was a good day. Yeah.
So what are your experiences of coming to Goodison Park then? I mean, you've been coming a little bit longer than me.
Yeah, very, very long.
Only a little bit longer.
No, it's a weird thing, I say the real first visceral memory is for a Coventry game in the League Cup. I was funnily enough was in the paddock. The best got before me to McPherson school. I have been before. I've been to Birmingham and beat 3, and I remember bits of that. But I think the reason why the Coventry game stuff in my mind was it was a weekend. I was seeing Goodison down the lights, and they seemed like Brien and all that.
Yeah,
it was stink. Stop making noise. Only messing, Chris. And that stuck in my mind really, and it's been burnt in. That's what I remember. Alan Wiley's goal against Birmingham on the update seemed to help Kevin's first season. That's quite clear. And then just sitting.
Where would you have been for that game?
That was in the Gladys Street for Biley's one for the game we talked about before the first. Yeah, and the Cops one was in paddock fast taking on to Broker. And then as my dad basically used to bring me and then me but we were in the lower Bullens for the glory years.
Yeah.
Years around there. And it's quite sort of thick, feels fitting that.
Yeah.
The last sort of game I'm going to be at. My season's just been up Bullens for all these years. Will be over in that side as well. So the real, I would say, coming every single week with my dad.
Yeah.
The lower Bullens.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of sporadic games, but that's where I went more often than not. And obviously started going with my mates and then talking about the street. Few things like that. So that's quite fit. Now I'm back in. Feels fit.
Yeah. No, of course.
Bayern Munich, I was in the Gladys Street.
Yeah.
Street. to the, as we're looking at it, to the left, keeping the goal is Sarah Stephen back there. Yeah, that's the she's looking home.
When I first came, it's 84, 85, so this is my 40th year. I don't really remember. One of the game I think I remember more than any, or I remember one was when we beat Liverpool and they'll pull the Goodison squad. It was on like a Thursday. They put it on like we'd already won the league, haven't we?
Toffee, yeah, done. Scored at the street end, didn't he? Side.
Well, that's like the first one I can remember.
John Moore, Mr. Head.
But we used to always go by the church. We used to always go in the church, and obviously we'd be on the bar. And if you scored, number one, two things: you dare not go to the toilet during the game, because the chances of finding your dad again, because obviously he's small and that. What was I, like 6 or 7? Finding your dad and that were like 0. And when you were on the bar and you scored, you ended up, it was like crowd surf. No, you just went and then you'd get pushed back. Very different times, of course. And then, yeah, being in there, and I just remember, like, probably the one that stands out more than, I mean, obviously you've got the great days, but probably when you start remembering stuff, Cotty getting his hat in, first game of the season. That was one that I really, really remember, because it was Newcastle. Yeah, so it made very, very clear to me that day. And then they put the seats in, and my dad stopped going. Then they put the seats in, he just stopped going. And for a couple of years, I was a bit like, what do I do? And then one of my mates' dad said to me, just ring me. We play footy in the morning, school footy, and then he'd ring me about 12. He'd probably drop me off about 10 minutes there. Are you going to match? And I used to always say no, because I wasn't going to match. And then he'd go, oh. And then but he was sort of asking me if I wanted to go to the match. And this happened every week. Instead of just going, you coming to the match, or pre-arrange something. And we started going to the match, and then by the time I think I got to like 94, I was going on my own. I was just going on my own, garden seats. And
Nobody else got that flipped. The Wimbledon.
Well, I wasn't on my own at the Wimbledon game, but I am on my own at that point. But I wasn't on my own when I got in the game.
Oh.
But I was on my own at that point because that was chaotic. But when Duncan scored against Liverpool, I was on my own. I got tickets on my own, and I was on my own the whole game. But like loads of people will have said, you're never on your own, are you? When you score, someone's hugging and kissing you or whatever. So
what was really weird was, so they were both the 2 last day relegation battles that I don't had in Wimbledon. How was you there? I was playing. I told you this before. I was playing with St. Adams most of about a Penrith in a game, and basically the long and short of it is their coach broke down. The referee called the game off at 10-3. So I didn't have time to get back. So I got out of the car, and another 4 scouts was coming back to Liverpool. 4 Reds and me. But by the time I got off the car, I had my tune about. So I morphed home basically with tears running down my face, and I got in, it was 2 on me. Listen to the second, my son was running around our street with the 3-2. And then when we had Coventry, I was in America.
Yeah.
So until the Palace game, I'd never gone to a last day relegation thing in all my years watching Everton. And I'll be honest, I did it again in the Bournemouth game. I'm happy if we don't do that anymore.
We're not going to do it here.
It's a bit rubble, we're not
going to do it here. So the Wimbledon game was dead weird, because we got here dead early. And these shouldn't be your memories, but I think the Wimbledon one's slightly different than the other ones, because the Wimbledon game was such a weird thing. John Moores had died, and there was a battle over who was going to win. And then Howard Kendall walked out. Whether you believe it's over the double or not, there's different spaces of the story, isn't it? And it left basically a power vacuum, the top of the club, and then no manager for 7 weeks. You lose all those games. Mike Walker probably wasn't the right man, because I don't think he was strong enough to win a club like this. We ended up getting to and I was at Leeds the week before, and we played really well for 17 minutes, and then they scored. David White came on for them, and they ended up scoring 3 in the last 20 minutes. And then going into that game, I'd never seen Everton in that state. So the idea of Everton being relegated was just completely alien to me. But I just remember it all week. It was just said, me and my mate, Miss, we're at the time into Halford till he bought one of those horns. And you know what? We he took it into school the next day like an idiot, and he got it confiscated. The things you remember, and he got it confiscated off him, right? So I brought like this metal whistle, and we got in dead in. We were here at like R12 because the queue, obviously you paid on the gate, the queues were down the road. And I got in and everyone just sat down. Everyone was like having a rest before we knew it was going to start. This was about 1 o'clock and I had this whistle and going, and this policeman just walked over and he was annoyed at me. And he just took the whistle off me and I went, oh, and I went, can I have it back later? He just went, yeah. No, the things you remember, but the thing about it was obviously the game was mad. With 2-0 down, it was unbelievable. Like the parking wasn't here, obviously, but I don't know if I ever thought the way it is, like the way it was at the Palace game, the ceilings, the connotations, everything. You didn't have it then. Well, I see they didn't have it at that age. You know, you dropped into the second division, I don't think it would have felt as bad. But it would have been bad for a club like Everton. But I just remember, obviously, we scored the goal before our time. We got it to 2-2. And at 2-2, the people in the galaxy generally thought we were safe. And there was a rumour going around that I think one of the other clubs were getting beat, but they weren't. So we needed the game. But to us, the Graham Stewart goal was just like, that just topped the day. Yeah, topped the day off. But little did we know that we needed to stay up. But as you mentioned before, the weird thing was, I just remember after the game, and this is my first brush with television, you know, the football grandstand cameras, obviously, went to Goodison, and
Final score.
They stayed on my face for about 20 seconds. And I bet all kinds of people right at my dad, like, you know, the telly, like, this is obviously, you know, it's what, you know, Brien at the time. And then I was waiting to see if anyone, you know, I even sent a letter or an email to Fantasy Football and asked them if they'd put it on the week after, just me start sitting there goallessly. But luckily enough, on the DVD plays for ages, and I'm on the DVD, and that's where that's come from. So that was my first watch, but mad day. I don't remember, by the way, anything that happened after the final whistle. I don't remember how long we stayed here. I was always kids, so obviously didn't drink. I don't remember how I got home, probably the bus. I don't know what happened in the night. Life just went back to normal. All I know is the next season, Everton fans sort of galvanised. They were never going to let that happen again. It was never going to be scenes of 13,000 again, anything like that. So crazy day. But you miss much, demolished. And then at Coventry, we had to go through it all over again. No, but obviously that time was anger. And that time I was up in the upper bones, funny enough. So I couldn't get down on the pitch.
But it's mad, it is mad. I mean, when you look now on, I think just obviously the stadium's changed over the time. You could thinking back to 40 years ago, wasn't it? Recently, that Everton won the league, or that QPR game again in the Bullens, and Bexley scored down here via a great header off the goalkeeper off the wrist of the bar, and then Graham Sharp's header at the street end. It's just unbelievable header to win the league. You see those moments doing it again in 87, all around the FA Cup in 84. All of these things are just, you look around and go, that all happened here, and
it's difficult, isn't it?
So hard to compare.
Yeah,
you're in here that it's gone. It's gone. You know,
it's difficult to like put all that, because most of that happened 40 years ago. And the mad thing about 87 was, and this is Everton in a nutshell, isn't it? Is that 87, a lot of the games were never televised because there was a TV dispute. So a lot of that footage was relied on Everton's like security.
Well, same in 85. We had Lineker, 85, 86 year. There was a dispute from September till. Didn't get sorted till after Christmas, so it's bits and pieces of Lineker scored on all sorts of goals. Whereas, I think that's why, like if Gary Lineker was playing forever, now when he got them 40 goals, he'd be bought years of our album, you know, because a lot of it's missing footage. It's almost like scraped over just that way, you know, just how good he was, because there's no sense.
Sadly, the whole thing has been, though, hasn't it? The 80s team troubles is everything, but so linked to the people. It means very little, because we never got to play in Europe. It's the winning league. Team breaks apart. We never get to like have any home lasting, you know, memories. And before you know it, Premier League it, and he made a pig's ear of it. And even Parkin there, it makes me laugh, because Parkin is, you know, I remember coming in. It's again, this is the difference, isn't it? First time I saw the Parkin was the game against Villa. I literally walked in and saw it. We drew 2-2 the season scored, and that's the first time I'd ever seen the Parkin, which is just so weird when you think about it now. How we've watched the growth of the new stadium.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. I know there was a picture in the FO, like in the day, but obviously I didn't see the FO because I was coming to the game. So just the way things have completely changed, the way things have changed in football, the way we digest it is completely different. But even the back end, I mean, it's a, it's supposed to be a double-tiered stand, isn't it? And Everton, he wouldn't pay the money for it, or, and Johnson wouldn't pay them.
That's what.
It was a lot of the money came from a fund, didn't it? Like a central football fund.
In football.
So, because I think that coming because of what happened after Hillsborough, there was a cotton, you had access money, so Everton used that money, so that's why it's a single slope, and instead of being two, you see it somewhere like Blackburn Rovers. But for a lot of people, this because it has been 30 years, this scale's never changed, has it? So this is like how people envision it. Like, you watch
the Premier League.
Yeah, because you can look at other grounds, and obviously Anfield's have 4 new stands in the space of the Premier League, so it is a completely new ground in many ways. But because of this place, hasn't changed for them in the memory. I know with this, main stand there came about in early 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the Bullens has never changed. The Bullens has been here since almost year dot. So it's incredible that this view we have of it right now is a view that hasn't changed for 30 years in many ways. I know there's been situations. I don't think this was saying it was here too long ago. But it's just incredible, isn't it? That this is the vision that we basically always have this at a very long time.
It is hard to cop. It's hard to get and that it's going, because although we're excited about King Stadium, can't wait to get it there. Makes you memories. This is all we've ever known. So yes, I think it is. It's strange.
That's the hardest thing for you, been, because I know you've been quite excited about the ground and stuff, and it's been hard though, hasn't it, because of the last few years at this ground that, we haven't been able to have a proper send-off in terms of, years gone by, one by one, just going, oh, love this place. It's only been this season and we've started to enjoy it a little bit more. And to me, that's pushed me the other way when I'm like, can't wait to go, hate that place. And you don't barely hate it. This is our, it's your home, isn't this? Our homes, isn't it? And as you just said, that we've not known anything else. But it has certainly pushed me to that place where I can't wait to go. I want a different Everton. I want a different future for Everton. Don't want it. But when because of this season, it's just, you just go, no, actually, wouldn't you have loved to have stayed in some ways?
Well, yeah, I mean, the ideal for years would have been to redevelop here, so we didn't have to leave, because it's our history, it's all here. Everything's here, is it? But I think you'd also have to think of, you're sick of this place, because it's now become symbolic that it's not doing things, and it's held us back. But it hasn't really. We've held ourselves back being terrible choices. But obviously there's a little part of it. I mean, with putting players you ball, whatever, but there is, the way football's gone, it's sad, and and you do sound like an almond when you say it, but football has changed. It is all about the finances, and that's what. And what's been sad is we've known this state what we get the last couple of seasons. We haven't been able to enjoy it because I had to care sports real. And things have got worse. Thank God for David Moyes coming in when he did, and being able to enjoy the last day. That's it, and enjoy the last few games. And this Southampton game, see that had to kind of understand. It's down the shits. I knew they were going to be lively when it was 1-0. Picked an advertiser, good on them. None of that. And the other cop on.
Fair play to, so fair play to.
But it's
like that. One of the things why we saw, Everton, we know what's the case there, but obviously we have been cursed. I mean, how can you be the champions ahead of 2 World Wars? How can your greatest team play and then not allowed to play in Europe because of what else in there? Yeah, because of other things that happen. But other things like, the main stand, this main stand was built 2 years before they invented cantilever. So the pillars, we wouldn't have the pillars and stuff. So you'd have a stand that would be clear of pillars. That's because we were the first to have the parking, as I said there. Maybe if we'd waited an extra year or something, or maybe we'd spend more money, that'd be a double tier. It would have had executive boxing, and you make money that way. It's all these little things that have just always been, because for us, the big thing is we came into the Premier League, even though we were one of the big five, we had no idea, did we? You know, the minute Manchester United went to the Premier League, started changing the stands straight away and developing, and other clubs started developing. The great funny picture of Arsenal where they've got like a mosaic at one end because they're developing. Straight away they're all developing, where we're just sitting on our toes. But although it'll all be the same, it's just that every game will be on telly. Everyone else knew straight away what the future was, and we didn't know. And it feels like we have only just caught up to the future right now.
Yeah, but that also makes us in some ways, that it makes us what we are. It's just successful. No, it makes us what we are, but now it's a case of, can we move forward with that? And the stadium we've got, we're going to, is unbelievable. You know, seeing other clubs, seeing Fulham recently, seeing their fans, like when they score, you know, things like that. Our fans are living to come off the head. We are, and against a lot of clubs to say, but we are, like, for a massive club, it's football's, again, the cliche, innit? But football's sort of like the leader in it, like, so to speak, and we feel like and deserve to be trying to win things and satisfying the fan base, and we do need in the future.
How important is family to you in terms of coming in? Because obviously,
Yeah,
it's 3 generations.
yeah, of course, yeah. Been here with Dad, my brother, my uncle, now come with boy, you know, daughter had a little go and I decided it wasn't for him. My eldest son did the same, but Zach is fully ingrained, you know. He's more bitter than I am at times, which is not a good fun to for him. But it is. It's my whole family at Everton. It's came with all I've had, you know, being here with so many of them, cousins, uncles, whatever. So this place is ingrained in that, you know. But that's it. It's like that for everybody, isn't it? For everybody who's, however you've come to Goodison Park, most people, majority of people, will have been with the family. Whatever guys that's in, whether the dad, the brother, whatever there is, the children, it's deep right through. And that is, it's sad, you know, it's sat quite close to the pits. Having worked there for 11 years and seeing people, lasses and nits and even bunches of flowers around it, it's in all of that as well. But nothing stays the same.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I know I'm the same. You know, my wife's here. My sister sits next to me. My dad comes. He sometimes sits next to me as well. My dad came back. Because we started standing, which is incredible for a man who's
Let's get his age away.
only 72 this year. So,
Like the standing, obviously.
he loves standing. Got me brother-in-law, got my nephew, got me other brother-in-law who come to games. My niece and nephew have come to games as well. And that's the thing, isn't it? And my family are all Reds.
We've got that at top, really. Extend the folly.
No, like you know, like my uncles.
Yeah,
my uncles.
Yeah, I mean,
no, so it is.
your dad's quite.
It's dead important having. It's dead important. Also having it's sad because my uncles, my cousins, they've gone everywhere all over the world to watch Everton. Like, there's videos of my uncle, who's named Peter McPartland, in Moscow talking to Russian TV at a Liverpool game. So, you know, he showed you the pictures of when his funeral, and it's all Liverpool flags with Peter McPartland. Looks like this is the old saying, this is my multiverse. I'm made up with the one I've got, and I've got wouldn't swap for anything. We definitely wouldn't swap for anything. But it's that family thing, isn't it? It's the family ties. And also the weird thing about it, Goodison, it's the people who sit next to the match that took their news. Yeah, and you let on to them every game for the last 20 odd years. You don't really know the names, or they're your matchmate or whatever, but and you're not going to have them anymore. You might see them now and again and you'll just let on to them, or you might stop and have a chat or have a coffee, but you're not going to have them sitting next to you. You're going to have someone else sitting next to you.
Yeah, I mean, that is over. So, one of the games, in fact, the last game, Lancashire game, saying Southampton, sit 90 minutes left with these people. Like, the couple of them, a few of them I don't know the names, but we've sat together for years, a couple of them, and you think, and the people around you can give a nod to and all that. you know you're never ever going to see them again. Really, like you said, you might occasionally bump into them outside, maybe. But like, it's going to be so weird. And that'll be the moments, won't it? They'll be the moments that will be so different for us all. And when we sit down in Blackmore and we're surrounded by new people, that we might be like, oh, this is... So you get used to it.
That's the thing about the new ground, is it? No one's ever going to know. I know some people don't want to leave here, and some people can't wait to leave here. We just don't know what our future is, do we? This is just familiar. It's just a place we've all been going. We don't know any different. So come August, everything's going to feel very, very alien. And it's going to be about getting in there, hopefully, you know, with the help of the people like the 1878s, we get in there and make it our home as quickly as we possibly can, and make it a place where, you know, we're not all looking around and, you know, cranking our necks to see all that we're all familiar with. I know you haven't been. Get in there as soon as we can, familiarise ourselves with it, and make it our home as soon as we can, and go from there. I think it's really important.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully new owners, you know, in a new era. I think that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? We all deserve better. We all deserve happier times, because we've had it. Forget about the last 30 years and that Toffee. Just the turbulence of the last 5 years, and that began with COVID, and then rolled into laws and rolled into PSR and point deductions and traffic and assessment.
Which is sadly, because I've heard a couple of things last few weeks, a couple of montages and things. It's sadly become too much. It's too much about this place, which has gone into like the relegation fights and that kind of thing. There's too much. There's too much. I hope people in the next few days and weeks, when people putting together in documentaries or whatever, I really, really hope all that other stuff gets highlighted more than a few relegation scraps, which doesn't define us, doesn't define our history. It defines a very small couple of windows in our history, you know, and for the rest of the time, it was you were winning trophies, you know, up to the Premier League. We were winning trophies basically every decade. You know, I think bar the 50s, when obviously we did get relegated, but bar that we were winning trophies and it was only in the Premier League area that we stopped. And that is down to the football club. That's not about the stadium. That's what it's go for saying and the things that continue. But it needs to be remembered for that, doesn't it? It needs to be remembered for all the amazing things that have happened at this ground. They cannot be lost.
Fellas, you saviour. And
that's another one. We both saw R9 here, didn't we?
And
both saw R9 play here.
Cristiano Ronaldo and some Zlatan, you know, be a month.
That was the one I was waiting for, Zlatan.
Yeah, well,
that was the one.
That
was the one I was waiting
for. The world-class footballers we've watched on and off them since, you know, we've watched them in an Everton shirt occasionally, Hammers or two, because although we pay ironically in the stadium, and like for Chelsea, and seeing many world-class players come and play on. People to see me because they're still up to go. We've
even seen the Premier League title lifted here.
Yeah, I've seen the
Man United.
Yeah. But you sure it's the person that the Liverpool actually kicked the back.
Yeah.
So
that was his last game for Man United as well. Was his last goal, didn't he?
But no, it's honestly, how do you put it into words? Whatever we do isn't going to be rock.
Do you know what? Doing this, it's impossible, isn't it? It's impossible to do what we. You know, we
thank you.
We could have had there are tours happening. We could have had all kind of grand plans for this season, but I don't know how we would have done it justice. You know, the things like documentaries and stuff like that, leave them to the professionals. I think leave that kind of stuff to the professionals, and we can come here on Sunday and just we'll be fans, won't we, and leave all that other stuff to those people, because it is impossible. It is impossible to. And the same with the 1878, you know, they're having a day off on Sunday, because it's only right that it's impossible to put any of it into words in many ways.
So this is it. The end is finally here. Tears will be shed. Hugs will be needed. And lots of us will simply never meet each other again in the same way. But we will forever have our memories of this wonderful place we call home. Goodison Park.